Well, hello everyone. Here, show you right here is the word proud is like if most of us is like you're talking about is like talking about what proud it is basically that knowing about that if anybody maybe has like what you calls like knowing about that the feeling of knowing about being able to do something and of course accomplishing our goals it is, and of course we may have heard it like it can be maybe be explained and we say a number of ways it is, but basically what I went ahead and drew right here is a trophy. And with the trophy right here is that we went ahead and drew like which caused an example right here of a globe, and then right here it's like you come up with this type of design, and I don't know, anybody probably think about it's like the type of different shape, and of course with the roundness of course, and of course and with the different shape and design, so if the architecture is knowing about that they kind of a type of globe trophy it would be. And a lot of times with most globes it was with most globe trophies it is that it would be that they would have like which calls like a type of just a basic color. It's like if you had a between there's like the bronze, or if it's like it would be any type of a tannish red, or if it's a gold type color it is. But I never won a trophy before, but the type of trophy that more likely be earning, more likely anybody probably think about that if you would have earned a trophy while playing on like what you call like a sports team, or if it could be a cheerleader team, or it could be involved with any type of a maybe if it's any type of team it is baseball game or something like that, football game, or it could be anything related to like being honored, say for the Knights or something like that, being an honor roll ceremony. And basically that anybody may be thinking about that thing for maybe it looks like I guess the way I have it drawn right here is more likely to present maybe for climate change, maybe a trophy for like which caused climate change. And basically that's how I drew it, is that I didn't really use the idea of any type of sports or anything like that. It was mainly for the show about climate change. And knowing about that, anybody may be thinking about that whenever I was in school, of course, those talk about would say with the word proud. And my parents, told me a number of times is that I want you to succeed. I want you to complete. I want you to finish school. It was, no matter what, no matter what happens, no matter, what, how long it takes it is. And basically that, that's pretty much what I did. And a lot of times anybody may be thinking about that was this finishing up school, going through what you call those many years of course of grade, it's like of elementary, and of course with the middle school, and of course through the high school year, junior high, is taught about the amount of years of schooling you had, that really is that easy. And a lot of times anybody probably think about that no. And anything that maybe that you have been wanting to do, that you've been dreaming about, of course, and which I mentioned, of course, about a dream, that a lot of times anybody maybe think about that, from wherever life takes you, it is knowing about that if your dream was to work at maybe a daycare. Anybody may be thinking about that if you would ever want to work at a daycare or maybe run a daycare, it is. Anybody maybe think about that there ain't no way in the whole world that I would ever want to run a daycare center. On the other hand, that anybody may be thinking about if you want to run a business, it is of knowing about the types of things, of course, it takes, just for say goals accomplished it was. And what I draw right here is maybe say a few stars. It is. It's like go ahead and if I can go ahead and add maybe a few stars, like using say the purple crayon. But anyway, basically talk about say with the word proud, and knowing about that with most of the time that I really think the whole truth of the matter is that that about it's like our goals, of course, is say accomplished it was of knowing about is like say for proud. It's like does it really mean about part? It's like for part of something that by the time you work hard and then you get something, is that something to be proud of? And knowing about anybody maybe think about it, according to the dictionary, and maybe something about talking about with maybe with praise, It's like talking about something to be feel about, you glad about with praise it is. And knowing about, say, with praise, or it could be, it's like, see here, anyway, that, but knowing about with me, anybody may be thinking about that, yeah, that now I'm talking about, trying to, it's like with spelling it is, but anyway, that, it's like, be like you spell goody, it is, it's like, goody right here. Is it spelled by this right here, or is it spelled just by saying it's like what you call right here for goody? Goody. But other than that you have right here is basically talking about is that as I mentioned before, about basically in my own words of saying, of course it is, but knowing about that the teachers would mainly want me to put a definition, not copied from like what you call as a paper, from one of these papers, you say from one of my IP meetings it was, of knowing about the things, of course, Matt is presently a sophomore and is scheduled to graduate in 2004 it is, but anyway, but that basically is information, of course, from the IEP meeting. And the IEP meeting presents is like showing about that the fact about that whenever the stuff that I was born with, of course, is like anybody maybe think about, if you were born disabled, it is, if you were born with a disability, that knowing about that it seems that half the time that you are restricted, of course, to what you can do compared to maybe what everybody else can do. And in some ways, I just say that is true, but on the other hand, that knowing about the focus about knowing about the things that maybe you can do, and something, of course, to be proud of knowing about that, maybe to be a part of like what you call is like maybe the team, or if it's like any type of event it is, being part of the group it is. And back whenever I was young, of course, a lot of times it was like that, it's me talking about when the siblings, whenever they were a part of something and I want to be a part of something, and it was like that, well, that's just too bad, ain't it? But other than that, like you got invited to the party and I didn't, whichever it was. But on the other hand, that talking about, you say if we can, maybe use say maybe the American flag or the Indian Asian or flag or something like that, or that represents some country it is, or just represent like knowing about the things that from what you learned, and then of course for what you can do. And basically though, between like a trophy and then of course with like some type of art design it is that knowing about that the things that we can do it is. And say working right here with the red, but is the whole part of the word proud, is that all about the fact about that if somebody says, a lot of times, my parents say it too, that I'm so proud of you, I am so proud of you, and knowing about a lot of times, at the time, it just seems like that what would they usually say to you if you fail? What do people usually say to you whenever you don't accomplish something, whenever you fail, whenever you don't complete what you were supposed to complete? Is there any type of word for that? Such as, besides a word that's completely the opposite, it is such as totally disappointment. If it's what you call is like if the word is just fail, it is. Anybody may be thinking about that of knowing about fail. I guess go ahead and write fail on the bottom here. It's talking about anybody may be thinking about fail. And like talking about basically what this word means right here, in your own words, it basically means it's like something. Something totally, if it's what you call it, totally the fault. Something that's totally the fault. And a lot of times we begin to wonder about if the teacher were to ask me to put this in my own words of knowing about that, that maybe want me to write a paper about it. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that. Really, the truth of the matter is that anybody may be thinking about that. That they would want to see it in your own words. They don't want you copying out of a book. They don't want you copying off of somebody else's paper, whichever it is. But the whole meaning, I guess, of the word proud pretty much presents of like knowing about that something that you were able to complete, maybe on your own or with a group of people, or say something that was completed in the type of manner it is, and knowing with this type of manner of knowing about that like using the flag right here, the flag that stands for like what you call that stands for like what you call the right it is, and with this type of right of knowing about for what of course what to be proud of knowing about that we completed this step and then off to the next step, and on the other hand too, that knowing about, well, what if you fail? Does a flag come down whenever you fail? Then does the flag shift from the south to the east or from the north to the west or something like that whenever you fail, whenever we're going the totally different direction from what we start out with? And half the time, anybody probably think about it, that things were all in good standing before, until all of a sudden it's like there's a number of things that kind of occurred during life. It was such as anybody may be thinking about if it comes to where maybe if you wind up losing somebody who's a part of the group it is, or if it was the fact about that you're trying to get everybody to agree on like what you call like a plan. It's knowing about what should we do in order to be able to complete this goal it is, and on the other hand too, that knowing about that the working out the situation to where what the problems are, and with anybody would probably think about if you're going to be running a business or running a daycare center it is, of knowing about the things that of course that you got to know about, knowing about that the responsibilities it is. And with anybody maybe thinking about, even the teachers say, it's like, out of your own words, what does responsibility mean? And I could probably say that it means by saying that that this is this is the priority that needs to be done by you, that not nobody else, somebody like if it's your cousin or your grandma or grandpa or anybody, your parents cannot do it for you and to remind you about what needs to be done, and of course of knowing about whatever it takes, of course, just to reach this certain situation to where that anybody, the way people say a lot of times, I'm sure anybody knows about if you're going to be maybe in college it is, that they say that you are responsible of course for paying for the books, the wireless, it's like if it's going to be maybe running your own business or something like that, running your own business, or if it's going to be a time for whenever that if you were to rent a car, and if I don't have any experience renting a car, but I'm sure a few people may had their experience maybe renting a car or maybe renting a business it is, if you rent or if you own it is, and we can maybe think about that, how much freedom do we have whenever we buy something, and if we were to run something or if we were to own something it is, and how much freedom. I'm like, if we're talking about freedom, right? I'm like, the whole part about the word proud, if it means for like what you call is like it could maybe mean for like you say accomplishment, for freedom, and of course accomplish. I think I may have used the word. I may have used that word before, but anyway. But talk about say if it's accomplishment or succeed. I think I may anyway. Whatever words, of course, I may have used before that say anybody probably think about that words that maybe more likely are in a dictionary. It is of knowing about that the fact about that the things that of course you need to know, and I can tell anybody here that back whenever I was in school, wearing this like I've said about 1,000 times. Back whenever I was in school, of course, about knowing about with that I had problems, of course, doing my work it was, and I could tell anybody here that I had problems, but did that mean that well, just quit? I did not, just quit. I can maybe write that down. That what you call your quitting. What does quitting mean to most people? Quitting. Whenever you quit, whenever you quit, the word Q, it is. Whenever we quit, what does that make ourselves a lot of times? It's like, if maybe you call it a habit, then maybe you understand, but no one about to say for the word proud. And of course, in my own words, the dictionary may say about, something that all of a sudden just drops. It is, something that chosen, not to perform. It is. But of course, in my own words, I can probably say about, is that, something, something decided that no longer going to perform.